I would like to thank you all for helping this channel break through the 500 subscriber milestone. A special thanks, I would like to do something that I have been wanting to for a good while now. I would like to share with you my top 10 favourite games of all time. I thought it would be fun. It certainly is fun to watch other people's top 10s, and I thought it would be easy. I could talk about my favourite games all day, but I hit an unexpected barrier. I did not anticipate just how difficult it would be to actually list all of the games that have had an impact on me. I feared that my favoritism towards a certain blue hedgehog would skew the results. So I did myself a favour and made a rule not to include multiple games from the same series to prevent my list from looking like this. With that rule set in place, I had one more concern, that even if I could think of 10 unique games, how am I ever going to order them from 1 to 10? So I went for walks, and lots of walks. I vibed with some music, cleared my head, and went on a journey through time and space. I thought of all my fondest gaming memories, the games that I go out my way to replay time and time again, the games I want to share with my friends, the games that inspire me or have left an impact on me so strong they've become a part of who I am. I'm glad I added these other categories to the list, as they were a massive help in determining the final order. Picking number 1 and 2 were no-brainers, as was removing games that were without a doubt non-contenders for a top 10 placement. I had to think long and hard about 3, 4, 5 and 6, but then the rest easily fell into an order I felt content with. So without further ado, let's tick off another YouTuber cliché as I present to you my top 10 favourite video games of all time. Number 10. Close Your Eyes. Now think of a game you remember being super hyped for. Have you ever been so hyped for a game after watching a trailer that you've dreamt of being in it before release? Now open your eyes. After the explosion of information revealed during E3 2016, this is exactly how I felt going into The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Now I want to be honest with you, I am not a traditional Zelda scholar. I don't know the difference between a phantom hourglass and a train crash. I've always recognised that Zelda games are special to a lot of gamers, however, after giving a few a shot, I just find them not to be to my tastes. I hope I don't upset any Zelda fans when I say that every 3D Zelda that I've previously tried feels kinda janky, restricted, boring. But Breath of the Wild promised to be different. Not only did it promise survival and experimentation in a land taken back by nature, but it promised to be a truly open world in which you could complete any of the objectives in any order you wish. I was sold on the game after that trailer. The visuals and shots on display in combination with that music had an effect on me so profound that I started to dream of being in Hyrule before the game had even came out. And as soon as it arrived on my Nintendo Switch, a release which I was equally hyped for, I was in love with my first open world game. I'll never forget my first few deaths. With death in this game comes knowledge, and little did I know at the time, but this screen here would help me prepare for another game in this list. More on that later. It forces you to learn the game's rules, encourages you to take a step back and try another approach, or straight up tell you that you're not ready for this bit yet. The game is geniusly designed so you stay in a loop of exploration, gathering resources and combat, and I think it is very satisfying. Breath of the Wild, at least to me, feels like a fully fleshed out version of another game that sadly didn't make the list. 2013's Tomb Raider reboot was what I'd consider to be my first true HD AAA video game. Its first hour wowed me and showed great potential for an open survival game requiring you to hunt for food and stay warm early on. These elements sadly get dropped before the game decides that it wants to be a set-piece driven action spectacle instead. Now, I still enjoyed the final version of Tomb Raider. I loved the tombs, as few as there were. I enjoyed the combat, especially once you had more options at your disposal. But the most fun thing about Tomb Raider was the bow. I'm not sure what it is, but gathering, stealth, bows and headshots is a type of gameplay I enjoy very much. Can you see where I'm going with this? Breath of the Wild is like the concept of 2013 Tomb Raider fully brought to life. The main draw of Breath of the Wild will always be this gameplay loop. I guess I really like survival games. I love how the game will show you something curious within viewing distance and the way you are rewarded for your curiosity. I love hoarding lots of items, weapons, shields and ammo. I love making a huge batch of meals to prepare for the next scout. I love finding a new enemy base, taking them out one by one, or sometimes at once, and then reaping the rewards once the coast is clear. I love being low on equipment and being forced to think outside the box in order to restock. Weapon breaking keeps you on your toes and the game would be boring without it. One of my favourite parts of the game is when you land on Eventide Island and the game decides to strip you of all your hard-earned gear and puts you back to square one, forcing you to take everything you've learnt so far and put your skills to the test. Unfortunately, I found many of the game's bosses to be too easy, especially the final boss. I was also left with a feeling of disappointment after the credits rolled and upon reloading my save file, discovering that nothing in the world had changed. This is why when I replay the game, I don't care much for finishing it. I just load it up so I can vibe in its beauty. It has become my ultimate chill out game, so much so that when I used to get really bad insomnia, I would load up one of those relaxing sounds and music with rain videos to help me sleep. I love this game's vibrant beauty, its peaceful soundtrack and ambient audio design, beautifully realising a fantasy of being a survivor in a world overtaken by time and nature. Luckily, you have all the time in the world to rescue the princess, so why not spend some of it in Hyrule? Here you can buy your own home and fill it with all kinds of pretty things. Build a community by uniting all of the kingdom's sons in Tarrytown. Befriend and adopt horses. Sorry, no undead horses allowed. Shield surf, paraglide, climb, control metal, stop time, ride a frickin' bike. I love this game so much. I have even went back to try it on my Wii U and must say it's impressive that this game runs so well on what is essentially an Apple II. But it's not perfect. The story doesn't really do much for me and doesn't make me want to extensively check out Zelda lore in ways that other games on this list have. I'm not a fan of having a hardy difficulty locked behind paid DLC, nor am I a fan of having the Wolf Companion feature be locked behind a rare and expensive amiibo. Also, saving the Master Cycle for the very end seems like an odd choice considering you probably have seen most of the world at that point, which is why I decided to experience an emulated and modded playthrough of the Wii U version via CMU back in 2020. I was able to experience the game at 60 FPS and full 1080p with additional graphical enhancements. With mods, I could summon the bike for my main adventure and turn my Breath of the Wild experience into an epic crossover event with an amazing Metroid-themed mod. I turned Liz Phalos into Charizards, ported over weapon and armor skins from other series, and it'll never get old seeing Shrek or Ugandan Knuckles show up in a game. I think it's responsible for halving my old PC's lifespan, but I'm glad I experienced the game that way. While I don't really feel the need to boot it up much these days, I will never forget my time with Breath of the Wild, and it continues to inspire me to this day. And other game developers too. I kinda resent that other series have since wanted a slice of that pie, but it's not Breath of the Wild's fault, I suppose. I hope I get to enjoy the sequel, but I don't see it having quite the same impact on me. We'll see. This is why The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild takes my number 10 spot.